late night review time. It is 9:13 in the evening, and today I had a work appointment an hour and a half north of where I live up in Rockland, and right afterwards I went to a local thrift shop that I've been to before, browsed the DVDs because they did not have VHS, but we don't discriminate based off of media format here. We are just about reviewing movies that we have never seen before and telling you, the people that are tuning in, if it's worth your time. Maybe we can compare and contrast on how I feel about it versus how you feel about it if you've seen it, or so on and so forth. So I was looking through the DVDs, and this movie looked interesting because it had a lot of A-list actors, and I was just like, okay, this movie came out in 2010, and this is an unrated director's cut, The Wolfman. And this has the theatrical version and the unrated director's cut, which I watched the unrated director's cut. Once again, this movie came out in 2010, and I do not remember watching it at the time. It was directed by Joe Johnston, who was known for directing two childhood classics, at least in my memory. He directed the Robin Williams Jumanji movie, and he directed the Rick Moranis Disney Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movie. So he is like a special effects guy. I was just kind of doing a brief bio on him. He was born in 1950, but his specialty is like special effects. The Wolfman was like partially a costume, but partially CGI to the time, which in 12 years we've come a long way. So if you can kind of get past that. I kept thinking of American Werewolf in London that John Landis put out in the 80s, comparing that Wolfman to this Wolfman, although this is a remake of the 1941 Wolfman. And I initially was going to wait to see what the reviews were, but I wanted to see if I am terrible. I go and I'll pick up a movie that looks interesting, and I'll think, I'm going to look and see what the people say about this movie before I spend the couple of bucks on a used copy. And in the past, if it was a very low rating, I would pass the movie by. This movie has 5.8 out of 10 IMDb. I can't even talk right now. It's almost 9:30, okay? This is late for me. 33% Rotten Tomatoes reviews, but then a very polarizing 82% of Google users liked this movie. So I picked it up and I said, I'm going to discover for myself. The movie takes place in the 1890s in the UK, and all these actors are just great actors. And I am initially, upon watching this, the soundtrack to me and the way that it was filmed, I feel like this is kind of in the realm of when the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out, although that they came out like probably 5 years before this, but I felt like it was close enough that kind of Peter Jackson style really influenced the way this movie was filmed, as far as the soundtrack felt really grand. The way he did the flashback sequences felt Jackson-esque. I felt like it was playing a lot off of that. The costumes and the period authenticity from the 1890s to me were great. The sets were great. Oh yeah, and the guy that's from The Matrix that plays one of the villains, and he's also one of the main elves in Lord of the Rings, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, and I didn't write it down. I apologize. Scanning for the back of the box. Hugo Weaving is in this movie. He plays like a Scotland Yard guy. Emily Blunt plays the love interest Gwen, and Anthony Hopkins plays the father, whose name in the movie was Sir John Talbot. And Benicio... That was weird. My phone just randomly stopped recording. So anyway, it was a great movie. I'm having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight. It was a great movie. It was rated R. It was incredibly violent. There wasn't hardly any profanity, or I don't even know if there was one word of profanity in it. So it was definitely rated R because the violence was like decapitations, people being clawed to death, their throats ripped out, to quote Warren Zevon song, Werewolf in London. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim. That was the line. So it's like intense, but to me it wasn't like shocking because of like it's a werewolf movie and I just expected it. I feel like depending on the movie, you're just like, oh my gosh, like Midsummer, I couldn't even watch it. I got too scared. But this, where you're kind of going into it where it's like there's some villainous creature on the loose versus like person on person shocking violence. I don't know. To me, there was a separation there. So I don't know. I feel it was very well acted. It was more of a modern take, I guess you could say. I don't know why this movie scored so low in the critics' eyes. This is why I feel like I shouldn't be relying on critics to make my selections. I feel like I need to watch the movie first and then make my review and then see what people said about it. Because if I am giving this movie 4 out of 5, it was great. Someone in a user review said this is an underrated classic, and I truly think it is. It's just a great movie, and the whole transition of him going from man to beast was great. Yeah, all around, hour and 59 minutes, just 2 hours long. My kids are terrified because they walked in while I was watching it, and they're afraid of creatures of the night. If I got problems and I said, watch out for creatures of the night. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Until next time, we will see you then. The Wolfman on Universal Release 2010.